Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. Today is Thursday, June 19th, 2025. So hopefully everybody's had a good week thus far. We're going to give people a chance to come in before we get started. Let me go do some last minute sharing real quick here to see if we can bring in some more people. Of course, a friendly reminder to everybody, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, oh, and sometimes you just hit things accidentally when things don't react fast enough, and you're trying to get things to react faster. Let's see now. All right. Well, anyways, so as I said, we're going to wait for people to drop in before we get started. So if you can help out by liking and sharing the screen, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the question the best of my ability. So, of course, I finished off the last portion of cartoons that came out um, in April of 1938. So, we saw a color classic from Fleischer. Saw Porky's Hare Hunt, which was the first appearance of Happy Rabbit, who was kind of the prototype for Bugs Bunny um, from Warner Brothers. So, saw Captain the Kids cartoon with the Captain's pup. So, anyways, yeah, let's see now. So we're at 2.5 minutes, so coming up on 3 minutes here. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and talk a little bit about what's on tap for tonight. Then, so tonight we've got a couple articles we're going to do from Bleeding Fool. The first of which, of course, it will. It's Steve Trevor's retcon in Wonder Woman, the right move for the wrong reasons. So that's the first one we're going to look at, and then the other article, that one's from Avi Green, and then Heroes Con 2025, the East Coast friendliest comic book extravaganza returns. So we got a couple of interesting articles here that we will definitely get into. Also, of course, we'll get all caught up on the wrestling wrap up. Look back to last night. We actually had a couple of events last night. AEW and Ring of Honor were both down in Mexico doing shows. Of course, Dynamite had Grand Slam Mexico from Arena Mexico, while Ring of Honor afterwards did their Global Wars show. So we'll get caught up on all that. We'll look ahead to tonight's TNA and Ring of Honor shows, and then wrap things up with this day in each history. So now we're at past 4 minutes here. So why don't we go ahead and get started then? Get into the first article of the evening. And as I said, if you can help out by liking and sharing the screen, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Let me just do one last little go around here. Alrighty then. Anyways, let's get to this then. Alrighty then. So let's get to the articles then. Let's get to this first article. Going here. So is Steve Trevor's retcon in Wonder Woman the right move for the wrong reasons? Article by Avi Green published yesterday. I wonder what retcon they're talking about. I guess we'll find out soon enough here. A writer at Comic Book asked if DC is going to reverse the death of Steve Trevor, the USAF intel colonel, who began in the Golden Age as Wonder Woman's boyfriend, following Tom King's political metaphor where he exploited the characters for the sake of his personal agendas. Of course, Avi Green is the one doing the, and he's been very critical of the modern mainstream writers, particularly guys like Tom King. So let's go ahead and see what's going on here. So this is from the comic book. Let me see. Yeah, the comic book article here. Wonder Woman has been going through some major changes in the current volume of Wonder Woman. It all began with the introduction of Trinity, the daughter of Wonder Woman, in Wonder Woman number 800. Wonder Woman's battle against new villain, the Sovereign, has seen the Amazons outlawed, starting a war that has pulled in everyone in Wonder Woman's life, be they hero or villain. However, Wonder Woman has lost something to the Sovereign, the life of Steve Trevor. This led the war to the next level, as Wonder Woman and the Wonder Girls did their level best to destroy the Sovereign. They succeeded, and readers learned how Trinity was conceived, before getting a chilling glimpse of the future of Wonder Woman. Throughout Wonder Woman, we've also gotten Trinity backup stories. The popularity of these backups led to the fantastic Trinity, Daughter of Wonder Woman #1, a book that plays into a lot of ideas introduced in Wonder Woman. The ghost of Steve Trevor haunts Trinity #1 almost from the beginning. The book's main plot, a time travel story that sees 3 different versions of Trinity meet up accidentally, turn their John Kents and Damian Waynes into corgis, who then steal a time bubble. Okay, turning them into dogs, I guess. Forcing the 3 girls to travel through time to find and change them back. Is set up by the death of Steve Trevor. The loss of Trevor is a major part of Trinity's life, and the issue does a great job of setting all this up. However, all of that raises a question. Will Steve Trevor be resurrected? The answer to that question is more complicated than a simple yes or no. Well, there's Avi's response to what we just read. Let's see if anybody's... Nope. Again, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. This isn't an option. This isn't an option so much as it is a hint. The writers actually okay with leaving Trevor's matter unrepaired, if at all, and explains what's wrong with these so-called columnists. They're way too loyal to the publishers to voice a clear opinion. Whether any character who was wronged by PC should have their fates reversed. PC, I guess, means political correctness. Note how he's so quick to embrace a King influenced direction, even for the Trinity book. Um, it's no wonder identity crisis. Crisis's worst results remained influential for nearly 12 years. As the same columnist made feeble comments but never clearly stated the most abominable crossovers should be decanonized, and abuse to the characters should be reversed. This is all Avi expressing his opinion, of course. Nor did they support a boycott of DC Marvel to send a message that even the most minor characters matter. The following makes pretty clear where the columnist of this puff piece stands. Back to the article here. Article that he's referencing. Steve Trevor has always been a very important part of Wonder Woman mythos, the Wonder Woman mythos. In most versions, Steve crash lands on Themyscira, and Diana becomes so enamored of him that she decides that she wants to go to Man's World, entering the contest that earns her the name Wonder Woman. Steve becomes Diana's de facto significant other throughout the Golden, Silver, and Bronze Ages, and has always played a role in getting Diana off Themyscira. However, their relationship hasn't always been as important as it once was. While Steve was always positioned as Wonder Woman's Lois Lane, okay. Oh, they probably love putting it that way, don't they? A resourceful, intelligent human that proves to be the equal of Wonder Woman in the modern days, their relationship has often fallen to the wayside as Wonder Woman has developed as a character. Many readers are quite surprised that Steve Trevor was made so important in the latest run of Wonder Woman, but it worked. It wasn't obvious that Tom King had a story he wanted to tell and wanted it all to lead to the birth of Trinity. King did a tremendous job of making the relationship work even for fans that might not like it very much. Since his death, Wonder Woman has done a tremendous job of selling the importance of Steve Trevor and his death. Readers got to see Diana bring him across the River Styx to the underworld, and also saw him in the afterlife. Missing Diana, he appears in Trinity #1, tying up the fates and telling them that he needs to see his daughter. Tying up the fates, oh boy. Getting back to some of the classic bondage stuff that was so prevalent with Marston back in the Golden Age. Let's see. So Avi's response to this was, so King did a great job because the pretentious columnist says so, not the audience. There may have once been a time where Wonder Woman was developed as a character, but that's because the assigned writers did an impressive job giving Diana personality and character drama. That's been far less the case since the turn of the century, and I can't stand Greg Rucka's shoddy take on Wonder Woman today. As for the relationship between Diana and Steve, I'm quite fine with it provided it's written with merit, which King's writing lacks. The only story he had to tell was an anti-Donald Trump metaphor, which predictably goes unaddressed here. And then the columnist makes things worse yet very telling with the following. Well, I kind of wonder what the anti-Trump metaphor is. I guess was what I'd be asking, because I didn't, obviously, based on what they're talking about here, how what's the anti-Trump metaphor? If there is one, I'd also probably have a problem with it, but. And we get back to the article here. One of the things about superhero comics that can be rather infuriating is the tendency to revert everything to the status quo. The main reason for this is because fans from outside superhero comics don't really know anything about the basics of character. So, for example, Batman couldn't marry Catwoman at the end of Tom King's Batman, which has been rumored to be the way it was supposed to end, because casual Batman fans might get confused if they picked up a Batman comic where he was married. But I think most people who do know the character do know that at least on Earth 2, Batman Selena or Bruce and Selena did actually get married, and actually, in fact, yeah, Batman and Catwoman on Earth 2 got married, and had Helena, who would eventually take on the mantle of the Huntress. That's on the Earth 2. That's Earth 2 canon. You know, um, all right, so looking at the death of Steve Trevor from that perspective, um, it seems like it should only be a matter of time before he's resurrected, especially with the announcement of a new Wonder Woman movie being planned by DC Studios. However, one of the things I've noticed about DC is that they are less likely to actually reset everything for fans from outside of the comics. On top of that, Wonder Woman writer Tom King is the man who killed Alfred, and Alfred stayed dead until 2020. Wonder Woman and Trinity Number One, both have teased the return to life of Steve Trevor. But so far, Steve is still dead. And honestly, maybe he should stay that way. As someone who advocated for the return of Steve in the past, I've come to the conclusion that maybe things are better this way and DC won't bring him back. That's from the comment. Now let's see how Avi replies to that statement. Well, I guess this says all we need to know, just what kind of defeatist is lecturing us. It's not difficult to guess, he's concluded. It's okay for Steve to remain entombed because it serves to make a shoddy quote unquote point for King's writings. Not because it helps the Wonder Woman legacy as a whole, and that the columnist even tells us it's bad if status quos are reverted. The problem here is that, as history's made clear, if they do today, it's not for the right reasons. As for whether Batman should marry Catwoman, maybe it could work, but not under a writer as awful as King's proven to be. And all the while, these mainstream quote unquote opinionators have worked tirelessly to sugarcoat what's wrong with his script writing. The only reason Trevor should remain in the afterlife is because what if he were brought back to star in a shoddy political metaphor? That's the only obstacle to resurrection. And while resurrection in science fantasy is not inherently wrong, it's shameful and offensive when it all hinges upon forcing the abused characters into a story that could be considered a fate worse than death, politically or otherwise. For now, this is some of the most bottom of the barrel, meaningless propaganda I've ever seen from a site like Comic Book, and makes clear that they're really not relevant anymore. Alrighty then. So there we go with that article. And now we'll get ready to move on to the next article here. Let's see where we're on time. 21 minutes, and not too bad there. And now we'll move on to the second article we're going to do tonight here. HeroCons 2025, the East Coast friendliest comic book extravaganza returns. Article by Chris Braley, published June 19th, 2025. June 20th. So this weekend coming up here. So, the much anticipated Heroes Con, one of the nation's premier comic book conventions, is set to return to the Charlotte Convention Center this week, starting Friday, June 20th, which is tomorrow, running all weekend. This year's event promises to be bigger than ever, with hundreds of exhibitors, artists, writers, and creators gathering in the expansive Artist Alley. Fans will have the rare opportunity to mingle directly with industry professionals and purchase exclusive comics, prints, and collectibles. Look at that. Founded in 1982, which would be 43 years ago, by Shelton Drum, owner of the renowned Heroes Aren't Hard to Find comics shop, Heroes.com has become a staple for comic book fans across the country, celebrated for its comics-first focus and welcoming, family-friendly environment. The convention's reputation for goodwill and its impressive guest list, built largely through word of mouth and a strong sense of community, continue to draw attendees from every region of the United States. It is renowned for its comics first and family friendly atmosphere, where attendees can interact directly with comic professionals and exhibitors. See, Chris Claremont, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Jenna Frissom, Jerry Conway, Roy Thomas, Brian Stelfreeze, Jim Starlin, John Romita Jr. Critics and fans consistently praise HeroesCons for its strong focus on comics and creators, its welcoming and family-friendly atmosphere, and its impressive Artist Alley, which features hundreds of artists and writers. Many fans consider HeroesCons one of the best conventions for meeting comic creators and engaging with the comic book community in a more intimate setting compared to the massive media-driven events like NYCC, New York Comic Con. Man, he's really trying. Chris is really trying to sell this thing, isn't he? Trying to sell everybody on. Hey, maybe you should, if you're in the area, you should probably try to get out to heroescons.com. Cheap pop. Let's see now. Unlike massive pop culture expos, HeroesCon's Charlotte stays true to its roots. It's all about comic books and the people who love them. Expect to see top-tier artists, writers, and publishers, along with passionate indie creators who bring fresh and exciting stories to the industry. Quite a list of names there, yes? This is why Heroes.com is widely considered a must on the summer convention circuit, and attracts fans, exhibitors, and creators from all over the country to the Charlotte Coliseum. The con schedule is from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday, and 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday. So make sure you arrive early and get a jump on everyone. Grab your single or 3-day tickets. Here, kids 16 and under get in free with a ticketed adult. Alrighty then. There we go with that. So, a family of 4 could, with each parent having a ticket and then having each of their kids accompany them. So, 27 minutes. So, let me take a quick peek to see if maybe, just maybe, might be one more little quickie we can do before we move on to the wrestling wrap up. Let me just double check here. Like father, like son, you're always number one. Yeah, there's buddies, there's pals, always seem to work things out. Can't you see they're two of a kind? Looking for a real good time? Report to the goof troop, and we always stick together. Yeah, from the goof troop, best of friends forever. Yeah, with a goof troop, and we always stick together. Yeah, with a goof troop, best of friends forever. Now we're calling everyone. Come along and join the fun. Port to the goof troop. La ba la do ba. Yeah. Alrighty then. So one more thing and then. Alright, so yeah. Alright, so yeah, I think it's a good time to move on to the wrestling wrap up then. We're coming up on. We do have quite a bit to go over tonight. Some interesting news. So, of course, first off, in WWE news, so it looks like Liv Morgan is going to probably be out for a while. She dislocated her shoulder on Monday, and it looks like she's going to have to go have surgery for it. So she's going to probably, so that means she's going to most likely be out for 6 months. Or they're already pitching the idea that she'll probably be making her return at Royal Rumble and possibly winning it if she's, healed up by then. But yeah, but because of this, of course, that ended up forcing them to scrap pretty much what they were planning for the Evolution pay-per-view and starting in terms of developing the storylines and all that. And once again, they're playing a little game here. Alright, so let me see. I gotta wait for a moment here because apparently cage match is being a little jerky right now with their maintenance issues. A little trouble. Now, as I said last night, of course, there was AW Dynamite as well as Grand Slam down in Mexico, and then all right. Well, let me then now just go see. I guess we'll have to go take a quick peek at some of the other sites to see if, because right now cage match is being a jerk. So I can think. All right, let me see if there's anything on here that maybe. Oscar campaign backfires. Nothing there. Oh, okay, here's something that let's see. Here's something that another quick. I think this will be a quick little article. We'll go through this one here. So I did find something here to go over here for the moment. How the Smurfs got their names. Pass the Smurf. Alrighty then. So let's go ahead and share that. Okay, so how the Smurfs got their names, Pass the Smurf, published yesterday by MeTV Toon staff. So let's go ahead and take a little bit of a look here at this one. Okay. Like many cartoons, the Smurfs originally started off as characters in a comic strip. And like Popeye before them, they began as minor characters in someone else's comic series. The Belgian creator Peyo intended for the Smurfs to exist as magical creatures in his medieval comic series, Johann and Pee-wee. He drew the little guys 3 apples high and made them blue. A decision partially inspired by Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. In an interview with the journal Herald, Peyo said through his translator, Jack Rouse, quote, "The Seven Dwarfs are little people, and it's terribly important we understand that Smurfs are not human. They are fantastic creatures. They do not have human characteristics. They are surrealistic in the French sense. not in Dolly's. But where did he come up with a name for these non-human surrealistic creatures? So I guess I guess he's not going to go. They're not going to go over each individual name. I guess they're talking about more the species name, as it were. Basically, why are the Smurfs called the Smurfs? I guess is where we're going with this. The name Smurf or Schtroumpf in French comes from a slip of the tongue moment between Peyo and a friend. They were having lunch, and Peyo meant to ask for salt or sel in French, and goofed up saying, "Please pass the Schtroumpfs," unquote. The friends laughed at the moment, and Peyo saved the word, thinking it would make others laugh too. So applying the silly word to the surreal little blue guys created the Smurf or Le Schtroumpf. Because initially there was only one Smurf, Papa Smurf. There was only one Smurf. Papa Smurf was the first Smurf, premiering in Johann and Pee Wee comic book La Fluta Six Schtroumpfs, or the Six Smurf Flute. After that edition, suddenly more Smurfs popped up with each subsequent comic until there were over 100 Smurfs. The Smurfs' rising star quickly eclipsed Johann and Pee Wee. He was leading to the Smurfs getting their own comic and cartoon series, and thus a popular cultural icon was established. Despite their seasoning origins, we still have yet to see a salty Smurf. Watch the Smurfs on MeTV Tunes Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern for Central to Pacific. All right, so there we go with that one. So let's see now, up to 38 minutes now. So let me see if I can. All right. See now if I can possibly. Let me see if I could see if the cage match will come up for me now. And of course, they're being little jerks still. All right. No. Let's see if I can use a back door here to get into the site. Let me just try the thing I was doing the other day to get around it and see if that will work. All right, there we go with that one. All right, so it looks like we are gonna get a chance. Hopefully, anyways, did get it. All right, so as I said last night, there were a couple of shows. There was Grand Slam Mexico and there was Global Wars from Ring of Honor. So let's first off take a look at what happened on Grand Slam. So on last night's episode of Dynamite, the show opened up with a 14-man tag match in which TNT champion Adam Cole, along with Ring of Honor World Champion Bandito, Brody King, Daniel Garcia, and CMLL stars Atlantis Jr., and Templario defeated the team of Dax Harwood, one half of FTR, along with the Don Callis family members of Josh Alexander, Konosuke Takeshita, Lance Archer, Kyle Fletcher, and CMLL's Hechicero and Volador Jr. In a non-title match, AEW Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada defeated Mark Briscoe in a singles match. Then in a singles match, Mystico defeated MJF by disqualification. Now, apparently, from what I heard, another little incident happened. Of course, MJF took Mystico's mask, and he was later confronted at a hotel room, which you should never do. Never confront wrestlers outside. But that ended up in a DQ. In a 4 million pesos four-way match, Hologram defeated Leo Rush, Mascara Dorada, and Ricochet. In a match for the CMLL World Women's title, Miss Greedy herself, Mercedes Moné, defeated Zuxis. So that happened. And then the main event, in a 10-man tag team main event, the Death Riders of John Moxley, of AEW World Champion John Moxley and Wheeler Yuta, teamed with the Beast Mortals of LFI and the Young Bucks, the EVPs of Mackie and Nicholas Jackson, to defeat the team of AEW World Trios Champions, the Ops, Samoa Joe, Katsuyori Shibata, and Howard Hobbs, George Strickland, and Will Ospreay. So that's all that went down on last night's Dynamite. Hey, Vitzozo, thanks for popping in. Now to look at what happened on, of course, last night's. Now after, of course, Dynamite. After Dynamite, of course, CMLL also had an event with Ring of Honor again, as Ring of Honor and AEW are down in Mexico this week, from Arena Mexico, in which they held the Global Wars event. Ring of Honor and CMLL held it. The opening match saw a proving ground match for the Ring of Honor for a shot at the Ring of Honor World Television title, in which if you win or you last a 10-minute time limit, you earn a shot at, and Nick Wayne was challenged by Titan. Titan ended up going to the time limit draw with Nick Ring, so now he'll have get a television title shot sometime in the near future. CMLL's Persephone teamed with Thunder Rosa to defeat Ring of Honor Women's World Champion Athena and Ring of Honor World Television Champion Red Velvet. And the main event on a non-title match, Blue Panther defeated Ring of Honor Pure Champion Lee Moriarty, who of course had Shane Taylor and Infantry in his corner. So that's all that happened on last night's AEW and the two events, Grand Slam and Global Wars from down in Mexico. So now looking ahead to tonight's events, the TNA and Ring of Honor. Well, we'll actually start with Ring of Honor because that's going to be a little bit easier to get to here. Let's see. On tonight's they have this. Oh, I know that was last. All right, so I guess then I thought Ring of Honor was going to have thought they were going to list. Let me see here. Oh, here it is. It just wasn't put up on the site yet, I guess. Or on the. All right, so on tonight's episode of Ring of Honor on Honor Club, coming from the Adrian Phillips Theater at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, Jersey, with Caprice Coleman and Ian Riccaboni on commentary. Tonight saw TJPW's Tokyo Joshi Pro's Miyu Yamashita defeating Brooke Havoc in the opening match. In a Pure Rules match in setting up for her upcoming participation in the women's Pure title tournament, Deonna Purrazzo defeated Marty Bell, one half of the team known as the Hex. Lance Archer defeated Aaron Solo in a singles match. Shane Taylor Promotions of Lee Moriarty and Shane Taylor defeating the team of Anthony Gargone and Sal Mistretta. In the main event saw the Martin brothers, Don and Darius Martin, the Top Flight, teaming with the Kingdom of Mike Bennett and Matt Taven to defeat the teams of the Infantry of Carly Bravo and Sean Dean, and the grizzled young veterans of James Drake and Zach Gibson. And now looking ahead, of course, to tonight's TNA. So TNA Impact, looking ahead as they continue their march towards Slammiversary coming up on the 20th. So I believe it's the 20th, coming up in about a month. The opening match saw Victoria Crawford defeat Myla Grace in a singles match. Eric Young defeated Sami Callihan. In a non-title tag team match, Lei Ying Lee and Masha Slamovich defeated the Elegance brand of Ash and Heather by Elegance. The tag team match, of course, the Ash and Heather by Elegance are the current Knockouts tag team champions. Matt Cardona teamed with the Hometown Man, defeat the System's Eddie Edwards and JDC via DQ. And then a 10-man tag team main event, the Rascals teamed Trey Miguel and Terry Rentz teamed with Elijah, Joe Hendry, and Leon Slater to defeat Moose, who Leon Slater has a X Division title match against coming up at Slammiversary. International champion Steve Macklin. The Nemes and Trick Williams. As I think about this now, I believe this is the Champion Challenge 10-man tag match where you had all the champions placed on one team to take on their potential challengers. So that's all we got for you in the wrestling wrap up. So with that being said, of course, with today being Thursday, June 19th, 2025, let's go ahead and take a look back at this day in each history. So, let's see now. 1995, 2000, 2015, and 2005. All right, so first off, we're going to head back 30 years ago, as on this date 30 years ago today, back in 1995. Find it. On this date in 1995, the 945th issue of 2000 AD from Fleetway, UK, went on sale on this date in Britain, on Britain newsstands on this date back in 1995. It went on. It sold for £80 and was 32 pages. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to the next piece in each history, of course. Right. So then we move ahead to the year 2000, which was 25 years ago. On this date, 25 years ago today. Oops, I hit the wrong thing there, apparently. Let me just clear that out. This is what we were looking for. On this date in the year 2000, 25 years ago today, WWE held its Monday Night Raw. Now, this was the go-home Raw before that year's King of the Ring event. And you did have some King of the Ring matches. So they held the Monday Night Raw from the Gaylord Entertainment Center in Nashville, Tennessee. The opening, of course, they had mostly the King of the Ring second round matches throughout the night, seeing Kurt Angle defeat Bubba Ray Dudley in a King of the Ring 2000 second round match. Chris Benoit defeating X-Pac, who had Tori in his corner. Eddie Guerrero defeating Chyna. Chris Jericho advancing over Edge. Rikishi defeating Scotty 2 Hottie. Kane defeating the Heart. Never mind that. Then Crash Holly defeating Hardcore Holly via DQ in a King of the Ring, and in the non-King of the Ring matches, you had the Undertaker defeat Bo Buchanan and Big Boss Man in a 2-on-1 handicap match. You had Kane defeat the Hardy Boys in a 2-on-1 handicap match. You also had Gerald Briscoe defeat Crash Holly to become the new WWF Hardcore Champion. And then the main event saw The Rock defeat the team known as TNA, Test and Albert, with Trish Stratus in their corner, in another 2-on-1 handicap match. So quite a number of handicap matches for the night. So that happened 25 years ago today. That was the Go Home Raw before that year's King of the Ring. Now, of course, moving on to the next piece in each history here. We move ahead to the year 2005. 20 years ago today. On this date, 20 years ago today, in the year 2005, Let's see. Trinet Entertainment and Studio Kuma's Izuma Flash of a Brave Sword concluded its run on Japanese television on this date back in 2005. 20 years ago today, the anime Izumo Flash of a Brave Sword concluded its run on Japanese television on this date back in 2005. Izumo Flash of a Brave Sword is a 2005 Japanese anime television series with 12 episodes by Trinet Entertainment and Studio Kuma, which is a sequel to the hentai OVA Uzumo. It is based on the Eroge Izumo 2. Eroge is a kind of a hentai video game. Hentai is basically slash porn. Alright, now I have to check that out afterwards. Anyways, so on this date, 20 years ago today, Izumo Flash of a Brave Sword included its run on Japanese television. And finally, as soon as I, of course, clear this out, finally, on this date in the year 2015, 10 years ago today, on this date 10 years ago today, Pixar's Inside Out premiered in movie theaters on this date back in 2015. So 10 years ago today, Pixar's Inside Out premiered in Japanese theaters, or premiered in theaters. Let's date 10 years ago today. Inside Out is a 2015 American animated coming-of-age film directed by Pete Docter, and from a screenplay he co-wrote with Meg LaFauve and Josh Cooley, produced by Pixar Animation Studios for Walt Disney Pictures. The film stars the voices of Amy Poehler, Phyllis Smith, Richard Kind, Bill Hadler, Lewis Black, Mindy Kaling, Caitlin Diaz, Diane Lane, and Richard Kind. That name sounds familiar. Let me just check on that a bit here. Let me see if that's who I think it is. Let's see now. No, maybe it's not. Okay, I don't. Okay, never mind. I don't think it is who I thought it was. The reason I'm curious because I'm thinking, but probably not. Now that I think about it, I'm just thinking that this might be. Oh no, I'm probably thinking. Yeah, it seems like I'm thinking somebody else. I'm thinking this guy was a. Oh wait, that was Richard Klein. All right, and Richard. I was confusing this guy with Richard Klein. Richard Klein was the guy who played Larry on Three's Company. That's who I was confusing this guy with. Anyways. All right. So, with all that being said, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Of course, we'll be back with more niche news tomorrow, and of course, um, and don't forget this Sunday I'll be joined by the Metal from the Vomitorium, as we will be looking back at comics that went on sale in in May of 1940. We'll be finishing up our May 1940 coverage. We'll be looking at comics went on sale from Street Smith and United Features, most notably focusing in on the 5th issue of Shadow Comics. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. And I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.